if you're somebody who has felt in the past like a whole day goes by and you're like, man, I did a lot, but you can't really, it was such a blur. You can't point to like the 10 different things that you did that were really impactful or meaningful. It feels like it just kind of, you were doing things, but it's hard to recall. It's exactly what it's like with food, right? I mean, I don't remember exactly what I ate for breakfast yesterday, but I think I had enough protein, right? And so that's what food logging illuminates sometimes, which is what this time tracking sheet is meant to do. It's meant to keep me honest. And I think if you find this strategy useful and this analysis technique, helpful, then check out the full video. You'll definitely like that. Check out the actual template. You can even just make your own version by watching the screen. You don't have to actually download it if you don't want, but there's a link to that below. Hundreds of others have done so and they've liked it. So to give you some context, I made this time tracking Notion template about 1.5 years ago. I made it for myself just because there wasn't a to-do list or time tracking system that I really liked, and I kind of customized one for myself. I mentioned it casually in this one review video that I did, and people started asking me to share that with them. So I created it. Hundreds of people have downloaded it since then from that video and just one other video, which is like me actually showing how to use the time tracking template. So the aspect that I want to share with you, because I've never missed a day unless I haven't been working or, tracking my time in 1.5 years. Like, I made this commitment where this was kind of a game system in my head where I was getting points for like clocking in anything work related that I did for myself or business related that I counted. Even reading, I wanted to get that continuing education time. I wanted to make that valuable. That wasn't something maybe I was doing or I thought it was valuable, but it wasn't reflecting on my timesheets, right? It's just like food logging. The reason, in fitness coaching, we used to ask people to log their food is there's this real connection when you just see, oh, this is what I'm eating all day, or this is what I ate. I thought I ate way more protein, but looks like I only ate 30 grams today, So I wanted to share my practice for how I actually analyze the data that I track here, because I do have this ritual of every month going back and doing this. It should be more often. I wish it was every week. I do sometimes do that, but every month is really when I get a chance to review, and it is that time of the month where I'm about to reset, duplicate my sheet. I basically like to start a new database or sheet in Notion where I duplicate the previous one, right? I delete everything in this duplicated one, and I kind of just rename it the month. So it's like, okay, July 2023 timestamps. Then there's June 2023 timestamps. I have one for every, month going back to the 1.5 years or whatever. So basically what you can do is go back, and there's a search filter that I'm looking at right here. Search filter, and I can type in anything like, let's say tennis, because I do track my workouts, right? I'm very okay, I want to track movement. That was something I wanted to incorporate. It affects my personal, professional life, all that stuff. And so I just wanted to log that time as well. So if I put tennis, I can see all the time that I played tennis this month. There's details in there of my scores, where I played, how much time was invested, all of those different things, right? So you can very quickly and easily look that up if you want to search like post or publish, right? That's another term I use, like publish on social or publish social post 1. So I can see how many Instagram posts or social media posts I actually ended up publishing, right? Or if I just type in podcast, I can see how many podcasts I've recorded, how many podcasts I've actually edited, all of those different aspects. So that search feature is very huge when you are analyzing some of this data. Obviously, one of the other numbers that I like to look at is the total number of 10,000 minutes, basically in the sum category in the time invested column, because I track it with minutes, and 1.5 hours would be 90 minutes, and I track it to the T. So I don't round up or anything. It's like 29 minutes, 25 minutes, 4 minutes, 100 minutes. So even if it's a 2-minute task, I kind of hit reset and kind of start it again. And the fun part is seeing yourself complete tasks under 25 minutes, under 15 minutes a lot of times. And the times, here's what you're really looking for, at least what I am when I scan through this, is what took me over 25 minutes and why, right? So a lot of times it's justified. I was in deep work zone, it made sense, but it's okay, replying to my client's training and sending him equipment recommendations for work from home setup. Okay, he asked me for that. All right, that took took me 37 minutes, right? That was yesterday at 5:50 p.m. that I did that. I also, this is something else that I don't do as good of a job at this, but I do this at the end of the month sometimes, is tagging everything, which is like, you should do this as you go along because it just makes it way easier. And I should get into the habit of doing this better. But it's basically the tags feature where I have, let's say, fulfillment, right? So when I'm delivering client projects, or I'm handing off client projects, or writing briefs, or dealing with revision, anything related to that, that is in the fulfillment category, right? So if I tagged all my fulfillment tasks there, I can easily, filter it down by fulfillment and see all of those tasks. If my goal in a month, like more marketing was kind of my goal, right? Okay, I want to do more of that, more for my YouTube channel, more for podcasts. Okay, so if I tagged all my marketing tasks with that tag that I already have built, then it basically allows me to see how much time I invested there. Another one, hard for me to invest time in, but important too, and I want to track it, is product engineering. I call it that because it's like whatever your product or service is, even if it's a podcast and it's just free content, you're trying to tweak and, figure out the best way to, display it for the end user so that they can have, the best user experience possible. So that's another thing, a tool that if you use the tagging feature, it pays off at the end of the month where you can skim through all this very quickly. Another thing I look for, if you remember my rule from the last video, I don't delete blocks where, let's say I started the task and I got distracted or I didn't actually do it, right? I walked away or I ate lunch or something. I would leave that blank, and then that shows me like an unfocused day, right? Or if I have a lot of those blanks, it means like I'm getting pulled with calls or something random, or just like not sitting down and focusing if there's a lot of those blank cells. So I do leave that in there. That's something I kind of scan for. And then the other thing I scan for is this like document icon. So any document icon or emoji next to the cell of like tasks means that I have more notes inside. So I kind of hit open and it expands the sheet, and I can quickly see like what notes did I take when I was, working on that task or thinking about it. Where this comes in handy is really the next tracking or analysis aspect that I do, which is something that I started. This part I haven't been logging for 1.5 years. I just started doing this the past couple of months, which is having kind of this to-do list cell or template that I built within this sheet. And it's essentially dividing my agenda up into like all those different segments: fulfillment and retention, marketing, sales, product engineering, admin, home, fixed garbage disposal is like a task on here, right? Like all these different things that I don't want to forget, I put on here. And the reason I like using this is because I can do it as like a to-do list where I check it off and it actually crosses it off, and it's kind of satisfying. So what I like about that is at the beginning of each day, or at some point in the day, or even the night before, it's kind of like the reset for the day, right? Where I hit new cell, I hit that template, I call it impact action items to-do list, and there's a scoff emoji next to it. And basically it's got this little affirmation thing at the top, or something that I want to hear, see for myself, not affirmation, like a goal, seeing my goals kind of written out every morning whenever I reset, and then followed by, the agenda that I want to fill in. What's really cool to see here is how at the end of the day, because now this is a guiding post, right? It's like, okay, now hit new cell and actually work on that first item and that second item. It's crazy when you get to the end of the day how many things you don't actually get to, right? You realize like, and this is why I do the time tracking template. It's like a to-do list system is different than a to-do done system, right? Something that actually gets done. And so the time tracking thing allows you to track while you're actually in motion, but the to-do list planning allows you to just see like, what's on my mind? What do I want to get out? What's really important? What are just some nice things that I want to work on? And every day when I migrate this, because this is a bullet journal technique where it's like you copy, you kind of write and migrate things that translate to the next day, where it's like, it didn't get done the day before. Me seeing that, at least, I feel like, why didn't I do that? It's been a week and I haven't worked on that demo slide deck that I wanted to, right? It keeps getting pushed every day. And then it's like, boom, finally when you do it, you have the data to go, wow, man, I planned for this. Literally, even some of these videos that I'm filming, I went back, and in this month, it's like I went deep into the action items thing because I have this note section and I dumped all of them there. And I was like, wow, I planned all these back then. It's taken me this long to actually record it. Like I've been meaning to record it for so long and to me a while to get to these ideas. If you're somebody who's data driven, it's a way where like you can't fool yourself, right? And it's just like nice to see it laid out front instead of paying for a coach or a consultant or somebody to yell at you. If you just set up this time tracking sheet, I truly believe that you can have a lot of learning just from seeing what you do in a day. And the commitment you have to make, I think, is just taking it seriously, being honest, and tracking as much as possible. When you forget, you put that in your notes. And, you can watch the video on me explaining the full system. I'll link that in the description below. But I wanted to use this video as establishing a framework for and analyzing the time tracking sheet. So once you start using this template every month, being able to have a practice, or even if you could do this every week, right? That definitely helps you stay even more on track because you can recalibrate week to week and see what was the error this week. Where did I go off track compared to some of my goals for the week? Versus at the end of the month, it's like, okay, 4 weeks have gone by. But once a month minimum, this is kind of the analysis that I do. And I try to do it a little bit more often. And I just kind of look for these things. What are things that are hard for me to do? And how much time did I actually log doing some element of those things, right? So if you're somebody who has felt in the past like a whole day goes by and you're like, man, I did a lot, but you can't really, it was such a blur. You can't point to like the 10 different things that you did that were really impactful or meaningful. It feels like it just kind of, you were doing things, but it's hard to recall. It's exactly what it's like with food, right? I mean, I don't remember exactly what I ate for breakfast yesterday, but I think I had enough protein, right? And so that's what food logging illuminates sometimes, which is what this time tracking sheet is meant to do. It's meant to keep me honest. And I think if you find this strategy useful and this analysis technique, helpful, then check out the full video. You'll definitely like that. Check out the actual template. You can even just make your own version by watching the screen. You don't have to actually download it if you don't want, but there's a link to that below. Hundreds of others have done so and they've liked it. And let me know if you have any comments on this because I'd love to make more. Honestly, this is one where I know a lot of people are still interested in. I wish I made more to help those of you who are still using this. My goal was to help you track your time for whatever goals that are most meaningful to you. So it might be creating content. That takes a lot of time, when you start doing that, especially if you're trying to do it consistently. And so tracking your time is really important. And it keeps that whole excuse honest, like, oh, I don't have time for this, right? It's like, okay, well, let's take a look. It's just like having a bank account statement or a food log you can go back to. And the best part is you don't need to share this with anybody. You're not sharing this with your coach, consultant, me. This is a totally private thing that you can look back at and really reflect on at the end of each month. So let me know if you have any questions at all on this. I'll be doing more videos explaining how I kind of use this template every single month and every single day. So again, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate your time. Check out this and more free tools at podmahal.com and in the description below. And I will see you next time.